This is the sleeping panel.
This is the sleeping panel. This is where we all take a nap for an hour because we're so tired. I'm gonna play some sleeping music.
Very soothing.
No, I'm not.
What? I'm recording all the outtakes, so.
Oh, good. So we can have our own outtake blooper reel.
That's right. Real life before PAX panel.
That's right. This is what.
I want to make a cutout of James' face.
Should only take us about 5 minutes. So.
Yeah.
Ready to go? We want to bring him in, or?
I don't know.
Start early.
We're still missing one.
Okay.
I don't know when he'll get here, but. Yeah.
Anyone gotten in contact?
Can you text him maybe?
Yeah, let me text him and see where he's at.
That might be a good thing.
Yeah.
That's probably more.
It's okay. We can wait.
Build up the suspense.
Is the panel canceled? Is it still happening? The panel already happened.
What? That's my personal thing. Myself.
Oh.
Well, yeah, because James actually, I was about to put his Gmail address on there, so it would just be nothing but Gmail addresses all the way down. Brought to you by Google.
We're in the game industry, we like free things.
Yes. That's actually what we're here to talk about, so. We don't have any beginning though.
Any responses?
Wait, no, just go ahead and send them in.
Okay.
I'm gonna move up.
Send him in.
Sorry.
I certainly hope so. I might not. We might try it out. This is just like the minute people walk in. So that's the panel. This is great, guys. Nice spot.
And that's a wrap. Just like that.
And scene.
See what happens. Just everyone.
So much good
all of us just
information.
get up and start walking.
Everybody starts clapping.
Yeah, as soon as the people start
As soon as
walking
they
in.
walk in.
Woo! Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next year.
Just start with a few of us up there, shaking his hand. You guys just getting up and kind of just moseying.
So apparently,
You should just break into song as they walk in.
Yeah.
50% on all accessories.
And just so, you know, we have time reminders, so we're only 50 minutes left. Oh, cool, thanks, I appreciate that.
Hey, James is here.
Woo!
All right, now the party can start. I mean, everybody calm down. Let's be serious. This is very serious.
Especially now that James is here.
Yeah, clearly things get way more serious when I'm around.
Alright, stop and laugh.
I've been dashing all day. Panels from now till 9 p.m. without breaks. It's good to play. Be interesting. It's a challenge. Accepted.
Achievement unlocked.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah, this is
It's actually all over now. We've already finished.
All right, cool. Does anybody have any graduation music we can play as they come in?
James, I wasn't sure if I could put your email address on there or not, so.
We're good.
I didn't. Well, your name's there in the back of the email, so you can just tell me this on.
Yeah, second.
I can't see it.
Okay.
No, you're good.
I've never experienced it now.
Let's go. Watching off your page. There you go.
Yeah, I was thinking about like putting it on an airport and then like just coming out with this, like, what do you yeah, you guys know. No. So I didn't actually consider the electric. Came into and then when
Woo!
Alright, seriously, thank you everybody for coming. This has been awesome. I'm so excited to see all these people in the audience, people that I don't already know, which is pretty cool. So, welcome to a co-op, Players Becoming Good Designers. My name is Bergeron. I'll introduce all these wonderful other dapper gentlemen sharing this space with me in just a few minutes. But first, I just kind of wanted to do a bit of a layout of how I think it was going to go. We'll see that. Yeah, so I'll just kind of introduce the topic, and you guys get back on what I've seen and looked at, and kind of just to, I'll let everybody on the panel introduce themselves, and I'll get to the questions, and then we'll start seeing if anybody else has questions, and we'll try and answer them as we can. My wonderful single slide PowerPoint is up there for you guys if you want to know who else is on the panel, and if you want to email any of us, with the exception of Jamie, who I forgot to put his email address on there. But that was my fault. So, alright. So, Players Becoming Good Designers. This is kind of something that, as I've been doing master's programs, I've been talking a lot with my colleagues in the program about this kind of idea where games are kind of moving towards more virtual experience between players and designers actually working together. And you're actually kind of, instead of just designers kind of dictating the experience for players, we're actually kind of working and crafting the experience. And so, first off, I just kind of want to give an idea of what I mean when I say code design. when I say co-design, it kind of implies that there is this merge between people that have this, creative background and people who don't have that creative background. And then essentially, working together to design a development process of the product. So that means you guys as players interacting with the designers to help craft and flesh out these experiences. And so that's kind of the general idea of what I think of when I look at co-design. So it kind of embraces this notion of that all people have creativity. That it's not just these, this handful of people that are really super creative and know how to do everything. Everybody can make something. So it's people actually working together in all facets trying to drive this design. And so it's more of looking at the player as a participant in this process rather than just a subject that we're making something entertaining with. So at the same time as I was looking into this topic, I kind of found that it divides into these two distinct areas. The first place is, as I'm sure a lot of you have already seen, things like Minecraft, Little Big Planet, where these games are more than just games. They're also tools in which you can create and express yourself and craft experiences for other people. And taking these kinds of notions of being a designer and running with it and engaging in this larger community. The other side that I've seen coming from also some user research background is this notion that players are now engaging regularly with designers and being able to email them, talk to them, going up and saying, hey, I think this would be a great idea, or I think this thing is kind of balanced or broken, and fostering this direct connection with them to help drive the direction that you kind of begins to go. So it becomes something, a bit more organic in terms of what actually happens with the game rather than just here's the game, here, go. So part of some of the things that I kind of noticed actually looked like they were triggered in this way. If any of you have seen or watched Gabe Newell's speech at DICE this year a few months back, he introduced kind of this similar concept of talking about how much user-generated content there is, particularly when they open it up to Team Fortress 2. And he sat there and said, we opened it up to this community, and all of a sudden the community created 10 times the amount of content that them about ever could make. And so there's obviously something there where people are able to take these tools, engage with everyone, and start actually creating a space. It's no longer just a single game, but now it begins to build off of the life of who actually comes in and takes over. So so being able to have those kind of interactions is very, very important to definitely right now. So some of the ways in which I felt that this is kind of important is just being able to express yourself, being able to engage, being able to, again, take this stuff and move forward. So that's kind of the idea that I had. This is some of the discussions that I've had with people, and these are the core things that I can see. So with that, I'll let my panel members introduce themselves. We'll start with the gentleman here on my right, just move on down.
You said a lot of great things, Jonathan. I hope I can answer some of the questions you guys have. My name is Anatoly Chen, or Anatol, depends on how ethnic you guys want to be if you see me in the hallway. I've been doing user research for over 10 years, so over a decade. I started off being a hardcore gamer, and I really just want to say real quick before I start anything and say that I really appreciate you guys taking out your time to come to the panel, because I know PAX is always juggling different panels and events and sitting in line for contests or raffles and stuff, so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. It's really important too that I want to try to empower you guys to be, like John was talking about, participants in the game design process, because it's not only about creating design, or creating content, which in itself is a game for players, right? You have fun in Minecraft building random structures, and that's part of the creative process. But anyways, I started out doing a startup which worked around the World of Warcraft space. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that game, don't need to talk about that too much. But essentially I wrote 2 patents in the virtual trading goods market. So I wrote a platform to trade virtual goods and services in real time for real money. I did a lot of user research in that to get that platform working. One of the things that I don't want to take too much time on my intro, but one of the things I really just want to mention to you, just as a baseline thing, I do user research, and I appreciate any voice in the community, no matter how abrasive it might be. I speak on a lot of designers and people that just really appreciate any feedback, even if you're like, whoever designed this should be shot. It would be more constructive than that. But at least that gives us some indication on this test on what people are doing. the last 4 years I've been working at Xbox, worked on Kinect, the first Kinect, the retail one, and also on the Xbox One coming out shortly. I just want to say also that I won't be answering any questions about the Xbox One, that's a different panel. But I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys bring up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jonathan, for bringing us together, and you guys for being on the panel. Great to be here. Thank you for showing up. My name is Rob Morat. I'm the creator of a software platform called Pixel Press. Essentially, the platform allows you to draw, play, and share your own video game. So just to give you a little bit of background if you haven't seen it, the idea is that you can print off a sheet of paper on your printer, if it's a piece of grid paper, and draw the shapes that you're familiar with when you play games like Super Mario Brothers or Sonic. So imagine taking a piece of grid paper and drawing a platform, a lot of it in spikes, using shapes like lines and X's and dashes and those types of things. And then ultimately taking a picture of that with your mobile device, your iPhone, your iPad, and turning that into a game that you can then play. So this is an idea that was inspired by my childhood, growing up in the 80s, playing games I'm sure many of you are familiar with, like the ones I was just talking about. My friends and I used paper for a lot of things with video games. Games didn't save, you didn't have save states in video games at the time, so doing things like writing down codes on a piece of paper was common, keeping track of stats from your favorite baseball or football game, or even drawing the maps of levels to remember where you were. Things that a lot of us did. And that extended too, as you start to play more games, you start to want to become part of that community, whatever community existed without the internet at that time. Just being a video game designer one day started and ultimately stopped with paper for a lot of us. But what we've seen over the years is that technology has allowed us to do things that we never could do before. It started with desktop publishing, proceeded to creating videos, or sharing videos online, creating content, photography. All those industries have been kind of, progressed from a creative perspective by the technology that's available, and video games is starting to do that more. We talk about Minecraft and these types of things. We all want to be creators, but we all don't write code. It's a small percentage of us that do. Well, maybe not this group, but those that are the general consumers have a harder time kind of getting to that point. So what our platform is about breaking down that barrier, and a lot of other platforms are doing that really well. I'm honored to be here. I've been working in the mobile space for 5 years now, doing some really cool things in different spaces outside of gaming, and applying some of that learning to this space, and just really looking forward to answering any questions you guys have had. And again, great to be here.
Hey everybody, my name is James Portnell. This is super brief. I'm a designer by trade. I work on games ranging from Call of Duty students to Farmville. I run a design consulting firm here in Seattle called Making Good Games. I can teach down at DigiCan, and I write extra credits on video game television.
Awesome. So, all right, let's jump right in. I'll fire off the first question I have. So, we've talked a lot, as I mentioned, designers and architects work together, but there's also this kind of notion that designers are such a people that kind of decide what's cool. Designers are the ones that they're creating games that are these ideas. They're the ones that are saying, hey, this is the next cool thing. This is what's coming out there. So I guess overall, my first question is, why should players even have a voice in the design process? We're seeing these kind of trends, but why should they even be involved? So go ahead and whoever wants to take it first, go for it.
It's a really important relationship that designers have with the consumer or the audience. We don't typically, or designers don't typically design something for no audience, right? And as the player of the game, we want to make sure that everything that we do is something that is content that players want to see. So having a voice as allowing us to know what you guys really want, and it shapes the development process and allows designers to make a better product. That's really all it's about. It's not just about making money, it's about making it a good experience, a good game. A lot of the people in the game industry, in fact, most people in the game industry are gamers themselves. That's why we got into this business in the first place. We love games, we want to make good games, and so to do so, we need to get help. I mean, quite honestly, the best, most valuable help that we can get comes from players in the community.
I would just say that it's really important that communities start being able to do this development because you guys all exist outside of the same constraints that some of us exist within. For me, every game I've ever made has had to come with questions of how do you do it on this budget, how do you do it this time, how do you market it, right? And that's not something that you guys face. And as we've seen in the gaming community, which has mostly been hobbyist developers, just the feel of this broad range of ideas that have no extreme yes. 99% of what's done by the community will be terrible. 99% of what we do is terrible. Fine. That extra 1% justifies everything else, right? There's some amazing experiences that are come from just getting so many people involved. So that's why it's very important that we start broadly and accepting design as something that is outside the purview of just a few experts. And honestly, I would say that it's a very safe bet to say that 2 of the 10 biggest games next year will come from companies we've never heard of.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we have the options now of being just passive entertaining consumers or interactive entertaining consumers. So, both for users, it's about what you want to do right now. You want to just sit there and kind of absorb, or you want to engage, and it's also a decision for game creators to understand their platform to get into that and also put that on the challenge, whether it's content, kind of going both ways. So I think it's really just about how you want to address your audience and how you want to be consumer.
I was going to say too, like, your technology has changed, right? So the design process has changed. Before, what would happen is, you design a product and you go to the presentation, you think about what people want, and then you release the product, you get some metrics back saying this is what the market said. Now we have the internet, right? We have a global telephone system, if you will. We can communicate with players in real time, make forums, community message boards, and that type of thing. It's totally changed the way that we do game design or design for most products as is.
Can I just have one thing? For most of us, the games, for most of our lives, games were something that were done when they shipped, right? And that's finally becoming not true when the design process doesn't end. And that's another reason, because we tend to contenderize these things. We do use the updated changes for actual games that we're now creating. So that's another collaborative change that requires a greater level of design literacy from our players.
All right. So I guess follow up to that. Why do you think, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I guess maybe let's kind of dig into it a little bit more. So why do you think this trend is just kind of now starting to take place where now, as players, we can make design? Outside of just the internet, what sort of, do you think, mental shift has been taking place with people to actually want to accept this feedback and build off of it instead of saying, in the past it's shipped and then, we're done. There's this area. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go for it.
That was bound to happen at some point. It is about a couple of things. That, from my perspective, it is about the internet and not the fact that the internet's there, but now it's actually becoming, fast and accessible mobile devices. User experiences are improving. So I think we're finally seeing this opportunity to actually be able to do it efficiently and allow people to do it efficiently. So I think it's about the technology and the speed in which the data can be passed back and forth.
I also think that people understand the design process, at least for a lot of our games that are coming out. Like in your swag bags from PAX, you guys got at least 3 beta codes, right? So one of the things about coming to PAX and participating in PAX is participating in game design. Taking time to do a beta, talking to the developers at the booths and giving them honest feedback. Like, this is their time to collaborate and engage with you guys. Just by coming to this panel, I can probably say that you guys are really privy to that already. But the design process has changed. We have the interwebs now. Like, pretty soon, we're going to see a world that every person on the planet is going to be around that has had video games in one way or another in their life, And I think that's greatly changing planet in terms of what we do for entertainment.
And I think that there are two other things I would add, which is one, distribution. In the past, unless you had $1 million to market your game, you would never get a GameStop, and you couldn't make a game that high numbers, right? Today, through the iPhone, through Facebook, through Steam, broad digital distribution of this, anybody in this room could make something that's super more pro, right? You people here giving talks in the booths that were in the same place that you guys are. And then the second is tools. For the longest period of time, the gaming industry spent money refining our proprietary engines to get better and better rounds. Well, we're to a point where we're building our own opportunities to be expensive and to specialized knowledge. And the people and the work of our meal, around the community, the gaming, our own things where there's platforms and opportunities that are meant for everyone to be able to participate in the creative experience. And so those are also technological advances that allow for wide breadth of design. And to add to that, I mean, as what I was talking about, I mean, just being here and being on the PAX, and I've talked to several of the designers, and they all say a lot of their feedback on where things need to come for how things can be shaped comes from places like this, and from guys like very much saying, this feels a little off, or I don't quite get this still. Even watching my guys play, it just informs me the way they do it. So, I mean, this idea that we're going to come up with you guys are already helping to shape the games is huge. It's huge difference in how we think we're going to grow change over the lifetime of the building cycle. So, always in those opportunities.
Just stay constructive.
Yeah, that's like same as terrible.
Or like saying, I felt the world,
So, this is actually a question I was kind of talking to people about,
Also, to ask you guys. So, do you feel that certain players should have a stronger voice in this kind of co-design process and over others? And if so, like, should it be based off of the monetary amount that they put in, the time that they invested, or if there isn't a certain group, then why should it just be open to everybody?
To me, if you're going to choose that bias anyway, I would say like portion of the population, right? Which generally means that if you look at population distribution curves, the vast majority of players and interaction between players are players at very low levels, right? Like if you look at World War, there's only two phases. Levels 1 to 20 is a huge spike, and there's another spike at 60 because it's the cap, where and between is a complete valley, right? And so to me, I would take, if I'm going to represent any sexual players differently, I would move my proportion of my population, because I think that way your changes affect most people in most possible ways.
Yeah, I think, you can talk about a couple of different things. If you're talking about like acceptance of content into the platform, you can take a democratic approach to it, but if you're talking about the core mechanics of the game and kind of how you're building the game and big decisions, it shouldn't be a democracy. I think the game creator should be making decisions based on how they feel, and they can take in all the data, but not one group should be responsible for making a decision. If you think about the creator of a movie, they're making executive decisions. It's a little bit different scenario, but a game creator at some point needs to say, this is my vision for the product, this is how it should go. And sometimes that is influenced by business decisions as well. So they may look at, the highest paying users as the people that are most important, but they're doing that because they're making decisions based on interest in keeping the product moving forward. So I think that's a pretty complex question. There's definitely a lot to look at.
Yeah, I think it goes product by product, depends on what you're making. In user research, we use a lot of expert evaluations, and we try to pick people in the industry or in a certain game genre that are considered experts, whether they're pro players or folks that are just on Twitch all the time. But it really does go product by product, because for a general audience game, you want a focus group full of different types of people to give a world of different opinions. It shouldn't be designed for just a hardcore audience. Actually, I can speak about that kind of specifically. I was in a startup company, and one of our developers took the stance that we're going to be designing something for MMO players, and his stance was that MMO players were expert computer users because they played a lot of World of Warcraft. Well, that isn't necessarily true, and you kind of pigeon hole yourself if you try to take that type of strategy. So I would honestly say that it's wise to give a wide breadth and not put too much stock into one perspective, and to build up a complete persona list of different types of people that you want to represent equally.
All right, I'm gonna ask one question, and then I think we can ask questions. We'll go ahead and open up. I've got a few more here, but just kind of get an idea because I want you guys to be able to get your questions in there too if you have any. So, all right. So I guess probably a good way to set up for questions. What do you think the next step is going to be in terms of this interaction? How do you think this is going to kind of grow and change, and where do you see the future going?
It's tough. James?
I would say that honestly, the next steps are increasing more understanding and gaining diversity among our consumers in terms of how to give more value-oriented feedback. It's been very interesting. We talked about focus groups and all these different things, and one of the hardest things is the fact that, we ask what groups we should talk to. The one group we should talk to is the forums, right? Like, no matter what, there's valuable data to be gleaned out of that, but that's generally tends to be your loudest, but smallest section of your community. And we see this all the time. I was working on a project where we had to build a database, and the client came in, and we filled out the thing, it was time tested, and showed it. And it's good, but the visual for this project. Like, okay. Great. We built a whole engine. A lot more customer investment, oh no, I'm actually doing this good. This is not I have to read my time. But that's right, we're moving anyway. So, comes in. First time around, I was like, doesn't feel like the present is shiny. That's when we rebuilt the whole. And we rebuilt the whole, and he comes back in. And the second time, I was like, there needs to be more red cross. And I stopped him with a perfect. I know there's lots of research about what red means, especially in the context of cars and all. And so I sit in the an hour and I was digging into the discussion. He didn't feel like he was moving. And he didn't know how to express it. He didn't even know that was what he was feeling. And so a lot of the time, a lot of the problem is that we get manipulative feedback that because of our trained to really express exactly what their problem is and tend to instead jump to solutions rather than telling us what questions they're trying to answer. That leads us often down wrong paths. And so I feel like one place of I think where progress is just in the short game literacy, this ability as players who have now built their own content to say, hey, wait, I'm not going to offer suggestions to this guy. I'm going to tell him what I encountered that I felt was wrong, that work experience instead. And then on the flip side, we're getting more and more measures, we're getting more and more tools to sort of observe that behavior, to observe the behavior in game, and understand the raw behavior that's actually happening. And so between those two, I think we're going to start getting a lot better citizen game design.
I like what you said there, James. One of the funny things to me is that when I started usability like 10 years ago, I literally didn't know what I was getting myself into, right? I was like, yeah, it's something with research psychology, I'm gonna learn stuff about players and whatever, but I really didn't know, to be honest. Now, I mean, pretty sure most people in the room have heard the word usability, right? Or user research. And now it's more of a common phrase and people understand what that means. And I think, usability really came in its, as a discipline in the mid-80s with Jacob Nielsen and stuff. But so it's kind of a new venture. Before that there was ergonomics. But now people understand, hey, focus groups, play tests, how we can get our voice in the community heard, and all these new tools, like you mentioned, are helping to shape the game design process. And I don't know if any of you guys are fans of a certain physicist named Michio Kaku, but he talks about how as a world or as a planet, we're going from mass production into mass customization, right? So that same trend is happening in our games. We have mass production of games that were just, you buy the game, you play, there's no more iterations after that. Now we're getting customized options, we're getting your avatars customized, we're even having the games inside and being helped designed by players in the audience, so that's even getting customized to an extent. So I think where we're moving in the future is being receptive to players and building out customized experiences for players so they can do what they want to do in the games that they play.
Yeah, I think the games and the companies that are doing it well are those that are kind of like separating with their core products with this kind of sandbox area. So the games that have like mods are kind of capturing that really well. And ultimately, it probably comes down to genre a little bit as far as like perfecting the system. Like just like multiplayer, eventually worked really well for first-person shooters and RTSs and RPGs. Like everyone kind of has their own flavor of it, and now there's kind of some standards going on. Of course, we're all constantly innovating. There's kind of established norms, and that really doesn't happen for game creation necessarily. So sandboxing it, letting people that want to get involved and like really understand, at least become kind of a little bit with the developer on what they're dealing with, is the route that we're kind of going. And once they get it perfected, continue to get it.
And plus we got stuff like Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys have ever donated money to Kickstarter. That's an excellent program to pay and to support the development of stuff that you want. I think it's absolutely incredible, and I think it can be important for you.
Yeah, I mean, with these mod tools, like, it's cool because these users are becoming developers, and they're making money out of this, and they're becoming game designers. It's really kind of getting very cloudy in a really cool way. And Kickstarter is a way to even take that further, a little step further from a business sense. Social media lets us connect. I mean, we don't all have our emails up there on the screen, but you can probably figure out someone's contact information really quickly and ask them for feedback and that type of thing. So it's pretty cool to have so much access.
Fortunately, you posted mine on the internet.
You gotta make them work for it. That's part of the process.
So, two other just quick things I want to mention before we move on. I think Q&A is actually the most important part of this. But one, I just want to recommend if you're interested in this sort of thing, how many of you guys have read The Design of Everyday Things?
It's a very good book. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest you do.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, as an intro to sort of just really get yourself thinking in this fashion, it's a fantastic work and it's very readable. I would highly recommend it. Second, I just want to say before we go on that while I'm very much in favor of this sort of content and the community involvement, much like the availability of cheap cameras and the distribution outlet of YouTube has not replaced the movie industry, I think that we have to remember that you're not going to replace designer creative content that has a large budget behind it that can dedicate people to spending 80 hours a week working on just these things for 2 years, right? So I don't think we can ever think of these things as either or as one opposing the other. I think we have to talk about, exactly as we have been talking about, how user-generated content and how user interaction with designers helps further games rather than thinking of these as two opposing